Okay, so before I get started on this review, there's something very important I want to say, and it's this. Release the Craven cut. I'm just saying, release the Craven cut. That needs to happen. However, I want to admit that if you did not know about the behind the scenes problems with this movie, I don't think, you'd be none the wiser. You don't think you'd say, oh, this is an entertainingly bad film. Leave it at that. But if you did not know the background of this film, Cursed, by the way, 2005. And yes, I had a theatrical version, not the unrated cut. Wish I did. Maybe one of these days, I'll get the Scream Factory release, but don't hold me. I did enjoy this movie as a fun, guilty pleasure sort of way. I didn't think it was terrible, but I didn't think it was that great. But essentially, this was mangled by studio interference. Completely mangled, because they had so much they could have done. And I need to talk about that. So, with that in mind, hello there, I'm Scotty, you're not. And this is my review for Cursed. First of all, we're going to talk about the background for this movie. So about 2000 or so, Wes Craven was hired by Dimension Films to create a reinvention of the werewolf genre. That being Cursed. And so he went in and he was going to make this reinvention of the werewolf genre, much like he did with Scream and the slasher subgenre. And so, they went in, they shot over 90% of this film. They went in. And then, good old Bob Weinstein took a look at the dailies, started looking at stuff, said, nah, this ain't working. By the way, before I get into that, I forgot to mention, Rick Baker was hired to do the effects for this. Rick Baker. American Werewolf in London, The Howling Rick Baker. Yeah. What we got? Not Rick Baker. Not Rick Baker at all. They replaced it with Derek Mears in a suit and some bad CGI. Yeah. Derek Mears in a suit and some bad CGI. There's one scene in this film with a werewolf that works. Everything else, no. It's still bad CGI, but it works tension-wise. We'll get to it. But yeah, so all this, Rick Baker, reinventing the werewolf subgenre, everything. Bob Weinstein said, nah, this ain't working for me. I was going to garbage, but and basically had Kevin Williamson rewriting a new script. Rick Baker wasn't able to come back through the effects, so we got, this is supposed to be effects, and told Wes Craven, redo it. Not only that, that wasn't the only reshoots. They were shooting, their contract was for a rated R film. But then Bob Weinstein stepped in and said, no, we want to market this to a younger audience. So forced them to cut it down to a PG-13. Not only that, there were two separate endings. There were three. There was one that was written for an ending, for the cohesive original version of this film that was written, but never shot, because that was part of the percent that didn't get shot. So then when this new script came, they had another ending. Bob Weinstein again came in and said, no, that's not good enough, and gave us this ending. We'll get to that. But the original script called for three strangers who are in a car accident and come across the werewolf. The three strangers were played by Christina Ricci, Jesse Eisenberg, who are in the finished product, and Skeet Ulrich, who is not in the finished product. In fact, there were several cast members that were in the original cut. They're not in this one because their stuff was shot, done, and they were gone when the reshoots happened. Did not come back. They were done. They featured they included Scott Foley of Scream 3 and Dawson's Creek fame. You know, Joshua Jackson did this too. Skeet Ulrich, I already mentioned. Corey Feldman, vampire hunter on a werewolf film. Okay. Robert Forster. Milo Ventimiglia is in this one. I don't know if he was going to be in the original cut, but he's in this one. They played dad and son on Heroes. This is before that. This was shortly before Heroes. We'll get to that. Mandy Moore, Omar Epps of Scream 2, and Heather fucking Langenkamp. That's right. It was going to be a Nightmare on Elm Street reunion. And I thought about that when I heard that. I thought, well, if New Line Cinema had done this film instead of Dimension, they probably would have got the film that they wanted to make. But no, fucking Weinsteins had to get their grubby little hands all over this movie and ruin it. Well, ruin the original version anyway. As it stands, this version is not completely terrible. It's a sort of guilty pleasure sort of way, but not so bad it's good. Just okay. And so instead of all those characters, we get Scott Baio. And around this time, I'm thinking this is when that Scott Baio is 40 and single or something like that. Did he have that show? I don't know. And Craig Kilborn, which, by the way, because of reshoots, this movie was pushed from a 2004 release date. Originally it was 2003. Then reshoots happened in 2004. 2004. But then another set of reshoots happened, make PG-13, so it was pushed to 2005. Correct? The main character of this movie, Ellie, works for the Late Late Show with Craig Kilborn. However, by 2005, he was gone. Craig Ferguson was in. So the whole Late Late Show thing of this doesn't make any sense. Came out in 2005. It just doesn't make any because of the reshoots. They didn't go back to reshoot that and just have her work a different job. No. I don't know what the ending for this original ending for this version of the film was supposed to be. I've heard that this ending comes out of nowhere. They do sort of set it up in a way, but then it doesn't make any sense. So in this version of the film, now we get to the actual review. In this version of the film, there is a car accident, but Jesse Eisenberg and Christina Ricci are now brother and sister. The car they collide with is driven by Shannon Elizabeth, who plays the character of... I don't care. Plays a character. By the way, she's on the cover, and they drew Barrymore. That's the only thing Wes Craven about this, I think. They drew Barrymore. And she dies right there at the beginning. Werewolf kills her. And it's really weird because they show her and Maya, the singer Maya, talking to Portia de Rossi as a fortune teller because we got a copy, the Wolfman. Like I said, the original version of this was to be a reinvention. This, all werewolf tropes. All calling out. Now, it is sort of like Scream because they call out the werewolf tropes. Oh, you get Silver, and all of a sudden, Silver doesn't kill them, but it hurts them. And the only way you can do it is by separating the head from the heart. But to me, it doesn't really make any sense with one of the werewolf kills in this. We'll get to it. She works at the Late Late Show. Craig Kilborn. You have the character of Joni, played by Judy Greer, who is better than this than she was in... This was like 13 going on 30 Judy Greer. At this point. Not now Judy Greer, where she's just... I'm sorry. Nowadays, she sort of just phones in her. You ever seen her 2.5 Men? She's terrible in that. Brooke or whatever her name was. I don't know. She was better in Halloween Kills, and then she died, so... Spoiler alert for Halloween Kills. Sorry. And her biggest plot point, up until the twist, is that she's trying to get Scott Baio on the Craig Kilborn show. Yeah. There's also a subplot with Jesse Eisenberg's character, Jimmy, being bullied by Milo Ventimiglia's character, Bo, for being gay. But he's not gay. But he keeps calling him gay. And then he says, "Oh, you want to join the wrestling team? Because you're gay, you probably like it." And it's like, but you're on the wrestling team. And yeah, if you caught on the whole bullying you, thinking, calling you gay is because he's secretly gay, yes, that does happen. And it is a little forced. Like, they do this thing, which I've never seen in any werewolf movie ever, where there's like werewolf pheromones. Like, people are instantly attracted to them. They do that with Scott Baio, like, puts his hand on Ellie's knee and stuff. And now Millie is hitting on Jesse Eisenberg. Is like, okay, like, going back and watch their older movies, especially the older comedies, I did the Big Ten comedies, there was a lot of gay jokes, and they must have thought that was funny. To do that, I don't know. Nowadays, you probably wouldn't get those kind of jokes in movies. I don't know, but I don't know. Yeah, and then so yeah, there's like two separate plots going on at this point because there's a car crash. They both get scratched or bitten by this werewolf. And then the dog bites Jesse Eisenberg. Or Jimmy. Bites Jimmy. And we find out that that later turns him into a werewolf. That's not how it works. You have to bite them for them to turn into a werewolf. Just because Jimmy... It's because the dog bit Jimmy, who hadn't started exhibiting werewolf genes yet. The dog becomes werewolf-like. Now, the idea of a werewolf, like a dog becoming a werewolf, is interesting, albeit confusing, but interesting. Never done before. I don't think it works, though, and the CGI on it just doesn't work at all. Remember I said there was one scene where Maya goes to get into her car, and there's a werewolf that comes after her. Now, there's a decent stalking scene, grilling up the tension. Very well done. The rest of the film? No, sir. Just werewolf attacks and stuff. By the way, we get Michael Rosenbaum in a terrible wig. You know how I know it's a wig? Because this was 2005. Filmed in 2004. Do you know what show Michael Rosenbaum was on in 2004? Smallville, where he shaved his head to play Lex Luthor. That's a wig. Now, I'm not entirely sure if... No, because Urban Legend came out in 1998, so he had his real hair. He was also in Sorority Boys, but he wore like a female wig in that. So it could have been... There's probably a wig in that too, but he was dressed like a woman for that movie. All three leads were. Interesting movie. Trust me, it is. But, yeah. I don't know. Now, while this is completely rewritten, it does feel like a Kevin Williamson script. There's a lot of things that kind of stick out as someone who wrote Scream. It does feel like that. So we get a reveal that... Because there's a thing with the hand, the pentagram and the hand, because that's another trope. And... So, Jimmy has the encounter with the dog, and then Bo shows up to hit on him. The dog comes out, they run and they drive, and they're going to this club. Boyfriend, Joshua Jackson's character, I don't remember his name though. Shows up in the parking lot to talk to Christina Ricci, to Ellie, and basically confesses to her that he's a werewolf, but he's not the one that attacked him, that attacked them. Now, this feels like a reshoot, because I was thinking about this. Like I said, there is some things planted in to set up that he's a werewolf, but he comes in, he says that he's not the werewolf. The very next scene, he's at his club when Bo and Jimmy show up. How did he get there so fast? I think it's because that scene in the parking lot was a reshoot, and they think, oh, he's a werewolf, he can run fast. Not that fast. Because the very next scene, he cut to the club, he's there. And it's like, okay, this is obviously a reshoot done to build that he's the werewolf so that the ending would make sense. Although it still doesn't make any sense because at this point he's playing up that he's, he's not a werewolf. But he is a werewolf, but he's not the one that's doing this. It's revealed that it's Joni after a red herring scene with Michael Rosenbaum, who acts very creepy because we gotta think it's him until he gets yoinked by the real werewolf, who's revealed to be Judy Greer, Joni, and then we get the scene with her that, like I said, her death doesn't make any sense. So they say very clearly. So first of all, they go to the club. Bo and Jimmy show up looking for the sister for Ellie because they think she's there. But she went, maybe it was, she was going home after an encounter with boyfriend. And then when she calls, or he calls her with Bo's phone, and she has to U-turn and go to the club. Because she was there and left. She was gonna go there. I don't know. She was gonna go there. And so then they all converge, and the werewolf shows up, starts to attack. And it's not very hard to figure out it was Judy Greer because the people that are getting attacked, except for maybe Shannon Elizabeth, are all potential love interests. He killed Maya, going after Ellie. Yeah. Scott Baio tries to save Jimmy, and then he's just gone. You couldn't have killed Scott Baio? I don't know. Chachi gotta save the day, I guess, but he's gone. He's gone. So was Craig Kilborn. I think about it. Could have killed him off. That would have been cool. A post-credit scene where they show that Craig Kilborn gets killed. That's a little, because it wouldn't have made sense, but they had the foresight to do a reshoot where Craig Kilborn gets killed by a werewolf, and then the post-credit scene, who are we going to hire to replace him? Craig Ferguson comes in, hello there, I'm the Scottish Cunning guy. I don't know. I don't know. It probably wouldn't have, I don't know. It's just a funny idea. Did someone say they need a new host? I don't know. Yeah. So there's this fight scene in the club, and we don't really see Ellie and Jimmy turn into werewolves, which I guess was a cost-cutting thing. They're a bit at the beginning of this, but they don't really, you see that Jimmy sort of became a werewolf, which also doesn't make any sense because there's a scene where he comes back buck naked, says he woke up in a bush, but then it's just passed by for other scenes, and it's like, wait, they say that they can't fully transform until midnight and a full moon. So why did he come back naked? And why hadn't they changed before then? And why doesn't anything happen when because Craig Kilborn cuts his finger, she sucks the blood off, and then she starts to turn, and then stops. I don't know. They wanted teens, I guess. Typical tropes, I guess. There's something where they can smell blood, there's a bloody nose, wah, wah, whatever. But yeah, we get this fight in the club. It's going down. You can see me in the club. It's going down. But, yeah, so they're in the club. Everything's going nuts. Werewolf fight. And, so she hears the SWAT coming in. She jumps up to hide in the rafters. And so to get her to come out, Ellie decides to, insult her, which causes her to come out. She does say shit as a werewolf, which is really weird. Here's something I want to complain about. Her transformation. We see her transformation. She's got a man chest. Like when she's changing. It shows it from behind, and by the time she turns around, it's changed up. It's got like a man chest. And I know that the stunt performer was Derek Mears, but and this was the PG-13 cut, but why does she have a man's chest? It doesn't make any sense. When it becomes a werewolf, sure, to cover up its effects to cover, but I don't know. It's just really weird. But yeah, so the SWAT team shoot the shit out of her, and she falls down. She's not dead. jump scare, and then they shoot her brains out, and that supposedly kills her. But they said you had to separate her head from her heart. All you did was blow her brain out. That's not what you said. I mean, they have a more accurate representation of that later, but that's not what happened. So, and then later they cut back to it, and it's like it's probably a stunt woman, a naked stunt woman facing the other way, and her head is intact. So is that led us to believe that she's not dead, but she turned back? Her brains went, pfft, but her head wasn't. I don't know. It's very confusing. So thinking that it's done, the siblings go home, right? And they think it's done. They're trying to fix the electricity because the dog went nuts. Which got rid of the electricity. I don't know why there's no electricity. And then we get the ending. Boyfriend shows up and basically says that he's glad that she's gone because now they can be together and he can teach her how to control it. Is the only way to stop it. Now this feels like bullshit. Okay, they tell you that whatever werewolf bites you, if you kill the werewolf that bites, or if the werewolf that bites you is killed, you're free from it. You're free from it. But it doesn't happen. Only so we can have this ending where boyfriend shows up and they have a confrontation and they're slowly starting to change the werewolves. They never fully change. You get this weird CGI shit with Jesse Eisenberg's gut or something. It's really weird. And then basically we have a confrontation with boyfriend where then they decapitate him and he bursts into flames, which makes me think that maybe Judy Greer's not dead? Because she didn't burst into flames and her head wasn't decapitated? I don't know. Her body was left over, but he burst into flames after he was decapitated. Oh, decapitation! But I don't know. And then Bo shows up with Brooke, who, by the way, was his girlfriend. You know, he was gay. And then, but she had a thing for Jesse Eisenberg, but he got pissed because she had a thing for him, because he had a thing for him, because he was gay. And I don't know. And then they're just the best of friends walking away, and the dog's fine, by the way. And then she's going to clean up the house. In the end, cool rock song at the end credits, but yikes. It's not a yikes. I shouldn't say that because that's reserved for the worst. But yeesh. This movie's not terrible. It's if you want a fun little film to throw on in the background when you clean your apartment, playing video games or something, you'll have fun with it. I'll have fun with it. It's one I could watch again. I could see myself, what do I want to do? I want to relax. Let's put this in. You know? But it's nothing, it's not what we were promised. It's not what Wes Craven was promised he was going to do. And which is why I say, once again, release the Craven cut. Whoever has the rights, come on, bring it forward. Let's do this. I remember earlier this year, they released the Scream Factory release of this. People were pissed because it wasn't the unrated cut. The same thing happened when Event Horizon came out on 4K Scream Factory. They're like, it's not the cut we want, though. There's a list of director's cuts we want. Event Horizon, Cursed. There's another cut of The Thing, 2011 prequel with practical effects that would be good to see. It's not a bad movie to begin with, but there's others. There's others we could have. It just could have been so much better. But as it stands, Cursed from me sits firmly in the middle of the road. So there it is. The first official review of Halloween Horror Month 2022 has ended. And so, yes, join me later tonight when I bring back Stephen King's Saturday Night with hunting for some shit weasels. Until then, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.